Something that may surprise many of you is that I was not a fan of Sega's Alex Kidd games. Being a dedicated NES supporter back then meant I was all about Mario during the 8-bit days, and playing something like Miracle World felt incredibly off-putting. The series just got worse from there for me. The rest of the Master System releases, that atrocious arcade abomination, and finally that ridiculous Enchanted Castle garbage the poor Genesis was saddled with. And Alex Kidd was a series I avoided like the plague. At least what I knew of it. Lurking in the shadows of 1990 was an extremely rare release called Alex Kidd in Shinobi World. As you can imagine, a Master System title released at that point in North America didn't get much attention, especially at retail or among the gaming press. That was at a time when Sega had relaunched the Master System as a budget alternative to the Genesis, and that entire campaign fell flat on its face. Alex Kidd in Shinobi World was easy to miss and even easier not to play. It was developed by Sega R&D 2, whose members worked on other great Sega games like Castle of Illusion, Golden Axe Warrior, and Sonic. There's no question the talent behind the scenes was there, and in this episode, we are gonna find out how this game fared mixing two completely different IPs that seem to have very little in common. Was it a match made in heaven, or did Sega dilute the Shinobi pedigree with yet another unplayable Alex Kidd monstrosity? Let's find out. The story to this one makes no effort to explain anything as to why the two games are connected. Alex is enjoying some time on planet Shinobi with his girlfriend when the black ninja shows up in a flash and steals her away. Just as quickly, the white ninja appears, claiming that the previous dude stole your girlfriend with the intention of taking over Miracle World. He powers you up with some ninja magic, and the journey begins. The base gameplay couldn't be more simple. Alex attacks with button 1 and jumps with button 2. Press up and jump to grab bars above you, and you can hang down from bars by pressing down and jump. While climbing ropes and poles, Alex can use his attack to charge up a fireball and shoot himself across the screen. Pay close attention to your surroundings because there are hidden areas and items to find all around you. You can also jump off walls and the sides of platforms for extra height. Alex's attack is a sword by default, but he can also get what the game calls darts as projectiles. Your hit points are located at the top left of the screen and are represented by small red triangles. While roaming around, you will find items to help make your journey a bit easier. Hearts will replenish some of your life or add additional hit points if you're already full. P icons will power up your sword attacks and give you the ability to repel some of the enemy projectiles. Crystal balls imbue you with a temporary tornado power. The Alex Kidd dolls will give you an extra life. There are 4 rounds in this one, with each one broken up into 3 distinctive sub-levels. Round 1 is a battle through the city. In round 2, you'll make your way through the harbor. Round 3 drops you into a dangerous jungle. And in round 4, you'll make your way to the Dark Ninja's castle, facing traps and a gauntlet of some of the boss characters you have previously faced. Make it this far and you'll finally square off against the final enemy and rescue your girlfriend. Of note is the game's playful take on each of the boss enemies. The first boss is a play on Shinobi's first big bad guy, Ken-O, now satirized as Mario himself. This guy even shrinks after taking enough damage and throws fireballs at you. The second boss is also a play on a boss from the original Shinobi. Instead of fighting one large helicopter with ninja raining down, you'll face small RC copters that must be defeated. Pay attention to the counter at the top of the screen to keep up with how many you've destroyed. The third boss plays off the samurai called Lobster in the original Shinobi, renamed here Robster, and is literally a lobster jumping around the screen. The playfulness abates a bit with the final boss, who looks far more serious and attacks very similar to the way the final boss did in Shinobi, complete with different stages of his attack patterns. In order to see the ending, you'll need to do it alone, and with only a single continue. I was always impressed by the color in Master System games, and Alex Kidd in Shinobi World is no exception. This is only a few ticks away from some early Genesis titles. Hell, compared to the likes of stuff like Alex Kidd in the Enchanted Castle, I'll take the visuals here all day long. They are detailed, varied, and the enemies and bosses look great. Not only was it overall a solid looking title, I dare say these visuals are among the best the Master System ever produced for an action platformer. Perhaps most impressive is the fact that this is just 2 megabits of ROM. 12 different areas, outstanding color, and enough enemies to make for an overall impressive looking adventure. Whether you are jumping around on rooftops through a city, traversing caves in a forest, or making your way across the docks, Shinobi World never fails to be an 8-bit game worth looking at. The only negative I can say about all this is that no layering was attempted in the backgrounds, something you did see here and there in the better looking 8-bit games. Outside of that little non-complaint, Shinobi World is a hit visually and up there with the console's best. The Master System uses perhaps the most contentious sound solution I've ever encountered. You think the FM sound of the Genesis had some wild swings in quality? It has nothing on the Master System's PSG. Alex Kidd in Shinobi World is no different. Like a lot of games on this platform, some of the music here is well done, some of it not, and I'm gonna leave it up to you to decide. There's so much here I want to praise, from the visuals to the highly enjoyable gameplay. The stages are designed well, and a few even have different routes to take. The enemies are placed in areas where they aren't cheap or a pain to deal with. It really is a fun ride from the moment you dispatch your first enemy. But is it perfect? No, it's not, and it starts with the runtime and difficulty. While you do get some decent diversity among the environments you play in, each stage is short, and could have used a few more minutes to let you have fun with the play mechanics. Seriously, the wind-up fireball maneuver and the wall jump should have been heavily explored in the later game to give the player more to do. This game also desperately needed a difficulty setting. I understand wanting to include younger and casual gamers in on the fun, but seasoned platform fans will dog this one out in a single day easily. The problem manifests in the bosses that die too quickly and the stages that needed more enemies and obstacles. No question you will die quite a bit in the second half of the game the first few trips, but they are the kind of deaths that come from surprise enemy placement and mistimed jumps. You will overcome these quickly. Sadly, this does hurt the overall quality of this one, especially for a game released in 1990 when titles like Super Mario Bros. 3 were out in the wild. I would say most of you will burn through this in just a few hours, even on that single continue. And for the rest of you that are terrible at games like this, you may need a day or two at most. Even with that said, I still think Alex Kidd in Shinobi World is a game strongly worth recommending and playing. The core mechanics feel so right you'll play it, beat it, and want to go through it again a few times before you move on to the next gem in your backlog. Fortunately, there are many ways to get to this these days. You can pull out original hardware, you can rock it on a Game Gear, or you can emulate it with the many options that affords. There really is no reason to miss it. If I'm being honest here, I have to genuinely wonder why Sega never upgraded this one to a full Genesis release. The groundwork was laid here for an outstanding 16-bit title, if not series of 2 or 3 games. One also has to wonder if Sega and its Master System would have fared much better in the US had it had more games like this. It really is an A+ effort. Alex Kidd in Shinobi World doesn't really play or feel like either of the games on which it's based. It leans closer to Shinobi, of course, but I can't say it feels like it passed the theme. What Sega did here is actually the best approach for such a project. Instead of mirroring the 2 games it uses for inspiration, it created something that feels like its own thing. This is likely due to the way it went through development. Sega had intended this to be aimed at younger players called Shinobi Kid, adding in the Alex Kidd connection in the final stages of development. While the gaming media in the US ignored this one, the rest of the world celebrated it as the great game it was. No matter which magazine you find, you're gonna see scores befitting a title that should be recognized by far more retro enthusiasts. Should you be interested in the Master System and have never played this, you can't get a stronger recommendation than that. Find it, play it, and see what all the fuss is about. I'm Sega Lord X. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you next time.